Today, I want to be talking about a subject, about a thing that I'm going through. And when I try to tell people my situation, it feels like they don't really understand what I'm going through, and they think that I'm crazy, but I know that I'm not. I know that I'm getting hit with several witchcraft attacks and spells, and I just want to tell about my signs and symptoms so that way maybe you know if you're under that attack as well. So, let me these are the certain things that I go through currently and what I faced in the past. So, what I'm gonna be saying is some very crazy things, but it's what I'm feeling, and when you know what you can feel, you know that you're not going crazy. You know that you're not crazy because you know that you feel it. So, several signs that I'm getting hit with. Well, I don't know if it's witchcraft or not, but I know that I feel it. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. So one thing that I noticed, several things that I noticed, is I get hit with really crazy dreams, and I end up with dreams where I eat in the dream. I'm eating or drinking in a dream, and then what you think is food actually turns out to be something not other than food. Like, let's say one time I had a dream where I dreamt I was at a place, and they had some fried chicken, and I took a piece of fried chicken, and then when I was tearing it apart, it didn't really feel like fried chicken, like the skin and everything. It felt like fur, and instead of looking like fried chicken, after I started consuming it, it turned out to be a dead rat in the dream, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm eating a dead rat. Another one is I have very crazy sexual dreams, uh, very sexual dreams, and then other times I have dreams where sometimes I'm being chased, either by a zombie or the dead, or sometimes I'm fighting in a dream and I can't win in the dream. Like, I'm trying to punch, but it's very difficult to punch and fight back, and it feels like they got an advantage over me in the dream. Uh, I see dogs, I see cats, and all that in the third. That's what I experience in my dreams most of the time. Sometimes I dream about old familiar places that I used to be in, that I used to live in, or old schools that I used to go to. Another thing that I know that I get hit with is I get hit with a lot of sexual arousal, a lot of sexual arousal. So sometimes I'm just going about the day and I'm not even thinking about anything, and all of a sudden, um, I feel like something touches me in that area, or nobody, like, I'm just in my room by myself, and it feels like something is grazing me, or uh all of a sudden you get an erection. I get an erection, and I'm like, well, and it's a really weird feeling, you know what I mean? Then another thing I get is I get poked and pinched through various parts of my body. Sometimes it's my knee. Sometimes it feels like somebody has their finger on a certain muscle part of your body and is like digging in there and it's just moving it. You know what I mean? Like a kind of like a spasm, but not really. At a certain place, like my knee, or my like the back of my arm, or on my buttocks. Sometimes it feels like someone has a finger there on uh, one of my buttocks, and it feels like they're digging their finger on one of the cheeks, and it feels like they're moving it. You know what I mean? Um, Sometimes another sign that you may face is twitching, unexperienced twitching, like in the eyebrows, or certain body parts start moving, and it feels like you're not in control. Like sometimes my thumb will move down or up. Sometimes um, it's hard to explain. Because I remember when I used to go try to fall asleep and it felt like something would grab my hand, grab my arm, and move it to just to wake me up. So it kind of feels like like a jerk. You know what I mean? Like a jerk, randomly, or it's very hard to explain. It's very hard to explain. Um, Another thing would be muscle crampness in certain parts of the body. Sometimes I get muscle crampness in my stomach, on the sides, and I can understand one where you're bending over picking up something, and then you get a cramp in your stomach area. But when you're just laying down in bed or for no reason at all, you're doing something and you get like a muscle tightness, muscle cramping, and it hurts, and then it travels. Some, you know, I that could be a witchcraft attack. I usually get it through all sorts of muscle parts, um, arms, legs, but more likely it's my stomach, uh, and my arms. And I can tell it's an attack too, cause I don't I don't be doing much to cause it to have it to be cramped. Like I don't work it out or nothing, so I'm like, oh, okay. And of course you get the twitching and then the pokes. Um, in the very beginning, several years back, I had a lot of pokings all throughout my body, and it felt like if somebody was using pins to poke me everywhere throughout the body constantly, and it would be in my knees, on my head, all throughout the body, and I could tell that they were upset with me. Somebody was upset with me that they were doing it at a certain time. Like they would be poking and pinching throughout the day, but at a certain time, around 3 o'clock at midnight, I just constant, and I'm like, oh boy. Let's see. What else can I say? I go through a lot of stuff. Let's. One thing I noticed is when you feel when you feel tired for no reason, when you feel sleepy for no reason, and you know that you drank a cup of coffee, you slept really well from the night before, you know that you have this energy, but then all of a sudden, when you get around somebody, or somebody's near you, or they're trying to put I guess a spell on you, I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, it feels like your eyes want to feel like they want to close, and and you're trying your best to keep them open, and you know you're not really tired, you know you're not really sleepy, but you feel like you're sleepy, and you're trying your best to open up your eyes, and then you drink some coffee and everything, and then you notice that you slept well, and you have coffee, and you're not really exhausted. That could be a telltale sign. Boy, there's so much that I go through. I should have read it down first. I covered the muscle crampness, the pokings and the pinches, the dreams. Oh, um, sometimes it feels. Sometimes when you're around certain people, there's one where I don't know what they do, but it feels like sometimes when I'm around certain people, I feel like I'm shaking, or I get like I feel weak around them. I feel like I'm drained and weak. Um, um, and sometimes to the point where I feel dizzy, and I just got to ground myself, and then it goes away. Let's see. Another one would be when you have you have this really like you have this really weird feeling that you're being watched in the house. You're being watched, in the house, and you know that your family's in the room, and then you're by yourself in an area, and it feels like you're being watched, and so you turn around, nobody's there. Another one is I used to I used to fall asleep. When I would fall asleep, and I would have like a little static noise from the TV, or the AC would be on, and I would hear like a faint mumbling, faint whisper talk through outside the house, and then it seemed like no matter what area of the room I was in, it would follow. Several different cold spots throughout the house. That hasn't happened recently. I gave my life to Jesus Christ. So it's been 4 years since I gave my life to Jesus Christ. And I've noticed a lot of stuff tampering off. I would have cold spots in the room. Several parts in the house. AC wouldn't be on. And it'd be normal temperature. But in like several feet away from me, there'd be an area where it was extremely cold. And you know that it's not really cold outside. What else? Feeling like other people. What I've experienced is I feel like other people can kind of read my mind and what I'm thinking. So I have to be careful what I say in my head, or else they're gonna take that thought and magnify it. It's really weird. And then I have like another sense of other people projecting their thoughts into my head. So they'll put an image or a thought into my head, and then I'm like, oh no. Or it feels like I'm conversating in my head back and forth, arguing about a subject, and it just goes on back and forth, and you realize it's not your thoughts. You realize it's like it feels like OCD kind of in a way, but it feels like you're arguing with somebody in your head, which is you, but it's not you. Hard to explain, my friend. Let's see. Sometimes it feels like somebody's taking over my body and looking through my eyes. So you could tell. You can obviously tell that the whole thing shifts. Like you have a normal, everything's normal, and all of a sudden it feels like somebody's looking through your eyes, and it feels like they know every step that you're taking. Kind of what it feels like for me. Recently it feels like everyone is out to get me, out to try to humiliate me, or try to get me upset and angry. And a lot of people, it feels that way. It feels like everyone watches me and monitors me every movement. I guess it would be paranoia, but I'm not really paranoid. I could just feel it. You know what I mean? It feels like people know what I'm looking at on my phone or on TV, and you hear that conversation in your head. Oh, you're watching that? I'm like, you know what I mean? When I fall asleep and I try to enter that dream state, sometimes I get woken up because I feel like I'm having a conversation in my head, when I know that when I'm trying to fall asleep, I'm having the scriptures in my head, or I'm thinking about a certain thing to fall asleep, and all of a sudden I wake up because I'm talking about a certain thing that I have no idea I was talking about it when I was dreaming. And I wake up because like, hey, wait a minute, I wasn't talking about that when I fell asleep. I have no recollection. Another one that I've experienced is having a thought in my head, but all of a sudden it disappears, and you're trying your hardest to recollect what you were talking about, and you have no clue what you just talked about. Sometimes it feels like somebody's controlling my eyes, like moving them side to side, around and around, like they're using their finger, kind of like in Matilda, where she would move certain things with her finger. It kind of feels like someone is just moving their finger around and around, side to side, up and down, and that's where my eyes go sometimes. I'm like, who's doing that? Sometimes what I experience is an overwhelming sense to urinate or let out gas or use the restroom. I know it's an attack because I know when I have my bowel movements and when I can control them. Sometimes I let out gas, but I can control that. What I've been experiencing is unexpected gas leakage. Seems like it's being forced out, and I have no control over it. And everything's good on my part. It just feels like they're using something to expel gas out of me or to have me urinate at a certain time, um, or to make me have a feeling like I need to use the restroom more often. Basically, what I'm saying. Um, I remember this used to happen when I would fall asleep. When I would be, I used to be terrified to go to sleep a couple years back because I would have such intense nightmares throughout my dream. I would have such intense, fearful nightmares in my dream, and it'd be like, it'd feel like somebody was chasing me in my dream, and I'd wake up. I would have those dreams sometimes, but it'd be like accompanied with fear, and I'd wake up and I don't want to go back to sleep because you know, you have nightmares. I remember when I would be asleep, this doesn't happen anymore, but I would be asleep and then I would hear on the rooftop like somebody was walking on it, like something was making noise, like banging on the rooftop, making noise on the rooftop. And so it would be everywhere throughout the house. I remember I would be asleep in the bed, and a certain part of the bed, I have a queen size bed, and I would sleep on the bed, and I have all this extra space just in case I want to move around. But I remember I'd be asleep in my bed, and it sometimes it would feel like somebody was coming into the bed too, and nobody's there, and it'd be like this presence, like I don't know if somebody was there, but you can tell that there was it had enough weight to move the bed, and you would feel the bed move. Like the mattress would go down, and you'd feel like somebody was there. I remember when I was asleep one night, and I vividly saw in a vision. I don't know what it was, but it was this black figure that came in the room while I was asleep. I was sleeping on my stomach at the time, and they grabbed my leg and they pulled it, and I was able to wake up and experience my leg being pulled, and that was crazy. Um, falling asleep and falling asleep and the feelings of your covers being pulled from up under you. So you're sleeping and you have the sheets over you, and it feels like someone's pulling on them down, or you have the sheet, you're laying on top of the bed on over the sheets, and it feels like somebody's moving them, pulling them. Some of the ones that I see would be I don't see them as much anymore. I rarely see them. But before I gave my life to Christ, I would very rarely I'd wake up and I'd see a figure. I would wake up and I would see a figure that was bald headed with sharp teeth, and I don't know, I didn't see its face, but I went, oh, and I closed my eyes and I opened back up and it wasn't there anymore. That scared me. Um, Randomly feeling like you're being choked. I remember a couple years back, I was working at a job, and somebody asked me a question, and I couldn't respond back because it felt like somebody was choking me from saying something, and like physically had their hand over my neck, like, and choking me to prevent me from saying something back. Uh, Now when I go to sleep, sometimes when I'm asleep, it feels like something has their hand on my chest, and it feels like something wants to choke me, but it can't, because I gave my life to Christ, and I plead the blood of Jesus over myself. I pray my spiritual armor on, and I pray that the Lord sends His mighty angels to watch over me and my family while we sleep. Several different things I've noticed is I'll be asleep. I'm trying to fall asleep, and It feels like someone's talking in my ear. Either it's mumbling or they're whispering. Sometimes they whisper my name and I wake up from it. Sometimes they'll call my name and I don't respond back. Sometimes I'm asleep and they're trying to tell me something. Um, Sometimes it feels like they're blowing in my ear, but not really somebody's blowing in my ear, but like, you can feel that your eardrums, it feels like someone blew in your ear, you know? Uh, Sometimes you smell a certain cologne or you smell like cigar smoke in a certain place and you know that you don't smoke. I get hit with a lot of crazy stuff, my friend. Um, it feels like okay, one thing I've noticed is it feels like if somebody hates me, they'll call me a certain derogatory name, but they don't say it to me. They say it in their head, so I'm able to perceive what they said. And I have no way to, I can't just say, well, how dare you call me that, because they didn't, nobody else heard it. I heard it, but in my head, and I know I'm not crazy. I know that they told me something in my head, so they're able to put a certain image in my head. They're able to say something to me in my head. Sometimes when I'm around certain people, I don't know if they practice magic or whatnot, but I notice that I have, sometimes they hit me with a certain spell, and I have a certain, like, lust comes over me, and I'll get aroused, but I'm not looking at a certain person at a certain way to get aroused, because I changed my life to Jesus Christ and he broke several things off of me. And so therefore when I give my life to Christ, I try to live my life as good as I can. So when I'm around certain people, like I say, I can be in the house and I'm not thinking about anything, they'll hit me with an arousal spell, and it feels like, it's so embarrassing to say, but and then I have to, the best way to overcome that is through prayer. So whenever I get hit with something like that, I noticed in the very very beginning, I would get woken up around 2 or 3 in the morning, past midnight, and it would feel like somebody's working a spell on me to get aroused through the night. And one thing that helped me was praying, reading. At the time, I didn't give my life fully to Christ. All I knew was "Our Father who art in heaven," the prayer, that one. And I was a Catholic, so all I knew was, what was it, Hail Mary, full of grace. So I would say that, and it felt like it would loosen up, right? It felt like I would break it. But then they would try it again, and I would try it again. But then as soon as I let myself deeper with Christ, reading the scriptures more, praying as much as I can, it really felt like I could fight back with scripture. Because sometimes you wake up with, sometimes I'll be asleep and they give me a lustful dream, or let's say I'm asleep and they hit me with some type of whatever it is, and I wake up in a lustful state. And I feels like I want to think about a certain thing and get aroused, and you feel really aroused, and you got to calm yourself down, because if not, something's gonna happen. And so, you know what I mean. And so, of course, I'm with Jesus Christ. I don't, he broke a lot of things off of me, so I don't go back to my ways. So I'll just pray. I'll pray. I say, Heavenly Father, please help me. I'll recite as much of scripture as much as I can. Just reading it is not going to help me, but reciting it in a prayer and asking Him for help and humble me, that helped out. It helped out a lot. Of course, I still get hit with it from time to time. Sometimes it feels like, another thing I've noticed is when I'm around certain people or a certain situation, it feels like my eyes gravitate towards that person for some reason, or my head turns towards that person for some reason, or for some reason they're there, and it's hard to explain, my friend. I wish that I don't want nobody to experience what I'm going through, but it just makes me feel like I'm a crazy person, when in reality I'm not. I know what I went through several years. Um, One of the things I've noticed recently, which I have glaucoma, so it was able to damage some of my eyesight. And one thing I noticed is when I close my eyes, I see a red orb and I see a white orb. This is where it feels like I'm a crazy person here, but I'm not. This is what's happening. It what I noticed is the red orb will turn into either a figure, a person, and the white orb will turn into a person, and they'll. It feels like they're communicating with me in a way to where they're telling me what's gonna happen, like what's gonna happen throughout the day. If they're making fun of me about a certain thing, this is what they're trying to make fun of me of, and then and of course, it feels like they hear what my thoughts and the things that I say, because I'll say, can you wave to me? And they'll wave, they'll with a little hand they'll wave. I have another orb on top. Like when I close my eyes, there's the ones in the bottom, the red and the white one, and on top there's a big one that will sometimes change into a face, but recently it just turns into like a big blob of red, and it'll move its head up and down, side to side. And the crazy thing is, I can ask it a question, and I can ask in a question, and he'll shake his head no or shake his head yes. And I asked my doctor, and he says, "Oh, well, you have Charles Bernays syndrome." And I'm like, "Well, I doubt that's what it is, man." Um, Another thing that I've noticed is I noticed like this white after the red orb. On the side of the red orb, there's a white, but with like tribal designs, like a tattoo sleeve design. It's really weird. It's like a ink blot, but with patterns constantly swirling and moving. Sometimes it looks like a spider web. Sometimes it looks like I don't know, something with veins. It's white and black. Sometimes it looks like a tattoo sleeve. Sometimes it looks like a cool design. Sometimes it meshes with the big orb on top. And I'm with Jesus Christ, so I don't really believe in all that other stuff. So another thing that I've noticed, it kind of dissipated, but recently this year, 2024, I've noticed and when I close my eyes, even when I have my eyes open, depending on how dark the light is, how dark the room is, or anywhere I go, I'll see a face. I'll see a picture of a person and their face, and it's a man, of course, and he's wearing a black shirt, and it's a white, like a white figure with a black shirt, always shaking his head up and down, or no, side to side, up and down. And of course I'll ask it a question like, why are you here? And it's not going to answer me. It just shakes its head up and down or whatever. And usually it would project onto the wall. So I would it would be in the nighttime, the room's dark, of course I'm looking at my phone, and I look, and in the side of the wall, like on my wall or the mirror, there'd be a face. Of course I haven't been seeing that lately. It just magnifies, like if you have a projector or something, and or if I had my glasses on, I would have my glasses on, and I would see a picture, an image on the side of the glass of my glasses, and there'd be somebody there. It'd be that figure. Of course, he can move all throughout, like kind of the center of my vision to the side. So, but recently he's been more to the side. Doesn't project on the wall. Doesn't make himself bigger or whatever. My left eye can do the same thing. Usually I see another face on the left side. Of course, it's a white figure with a black shirt on as well, and it'll do the same thing. So I'm like, are you on both sides? But it feels like there's another person on my other side shaking their head up and down, changing into any other face. They can change into whoever they want to change into. Or maybe they can change into this person, this celebrity, or whatever I'm looking at, at first. And so It makes me feel like I'm a crazy person, but I'm not. I know what I'm experiencing. Um, recently, I would look at pictures of people like celebrities and stuff. Let's take for example Kim Kardashian or something, and of course I'm just looking at the face and the eyes, and I haven't been doing this lately, but um, I'll look in the corner of my eye, but I would keep my okay. I would look at the picture, but I would look to the side, and I would look at it through the side view of my eye, and I would notice their face completely change and look dark, completely changed. Kind of like when you look at a picture and you feel like the eyes are moving wherever you're at, but when you look at a picture and you kind of gaze at it, but you're not really paying attention to it, it's your side eye that you're looking at through, and you can see it catches you off in a way like the face will morph. That's what I would notice. Like if I would look at the eye, but I would look to the side, and if I would just like in the corner of my eye, just keep their eyes and their lips, it would just completely change. Sometimes their eyes would swirl. Sometimes I feel like there was somebody in their eye that like I could just tell that somebody was in their eye moving, but I couldn't tell what it was. And so sometimes their mouth would change, and it would look. Sometimes it would look very lustful, or sometimes it would look very dark. Sometimes it looked like it had teeth. Um, so I asked my doctor about it. He's like, "Oh, that's just Charles Bernet syndrome," and I'm like, "All right." Oh, another one that I've experienced is I've been seeing a lot of shadows lately. In the nighttime, right when I'm about to fall asleep, around 10, 11, 12, I'll notice in my room, I'll notice a bunch of shadows just in the corner of my eye or just zipping through the room. And yeah, it accompanies with sometimes it feels like there's somebody there watching me, monitoring me, and sometimes I'll be looking at something on my phone and I'll just move my phone and it feels like somebody's watching me there through the door. And of course, I'm always constantly checking now, moving my phone away, and you just have this weird sense that somebody's just watching you, man. And yeah, um, another thing I noticed is which it doesn't happen as much often, but sometimes when I look at people in their eye, um, sometimes they're bold and they'll show me something with their eye. Um, Kind of like sometimes their eye, it's hard to explain, but they'll um, move their eye in a way to make it look like it's weird looking, And I don't notice it at often. In the very beginning, I noticed that a lot of people would, uh, do something with their eye, I guess to indicate, to tell me something, but um, not anymore now. So one thing I would notice is it'd be me or my family, and we would have a certain item throughout the house that we know where we would put it. But then all of a sudden, certain things just start to disappear. Like I remember my a certain family member in the house, their certain their underwear would go missing, and they know that they put it there somewhere, but certain items start missing, and then that's when I know that you know something was going on. Another one is seeing people. This is one of the craziest ones. Is I've noticed it several times, and I would see um, several people moving through the house, kind of like if you saw a ghost, but it's a person. So I would see a person like, okay, one time I was in the living room about to leave the house, and I saw a figure in a white shirt move, like walking throughout the wall. And I was like, what the heck is this? Seeing apparitions, kind of, I guess what you would call it. There's more stuff that I just don't remember right now, that I wish I did right now, to tell you the things that I was going through. Is it all witchcraft? I don't know. Of course, I'm with Jesus Christ, and I follow him as much as I can. And one of the things I've experienced is, of course, I'm with Christ, but it feels like everyone's against me. And it feels like everyone tries to bring out the worst in me, even though I'm walking with Christ. Um, so they'll try to bring it out of me, so that way I don't fulfill my destiny. I don't fulfill God's purpose in my life, or get discouraged, or it feels like they do it to they try to aggravate me in some type of way, to make me look like I'm the bad person, that, hey, look, he's not really with Christ, this is who he is all along, kind of like a manipulation type of thing. And it feels like I get messed with 24/7. I get hit with spells every day. So when I go to sleep, I have a lot of crazy dreams. When I wake up, I have such intrusive thoughts. It feels like I'm fighting in my head, but it's not just me fighting with my own intrusive thoughts that the Lord delivered me from. It's not only that I have to fight with the thoughts in my head, but I have to fight with what other people try to project in my head. And I'm like, no, and I experience it throughout the day. And then I get hit with, several attacks, which would be what I've just experienced throughout the whole day, which would be the poking and the pinching, the muscle cramping, the movement in some type of the body. Feels like someone has a finger in a certain part moving a muscle deep in your skin. Of course, it feels like, it feels like everyone's against me. I guess that would be the paranoia. Um, the intrusive thoughts from morning to night, and when I go to sleep. So sometimes I'll be asleep and trying to fall asleep, and it feels like I'm having this conversation in my head that I wake up and I'm like, hey, I didn't mean to talk about that. Um, and it's been going on for 4 years now. And of course, Jesus Christ helped relieve some of the other things. Because I used to have the nightmares. I used to be afraid to fall asleep, and of course, I'm grateful for it. But it's all a spiritual battle. And so, if you're facing the same thing too, all I can say is sometimes I feel like I want to give up, but I can't. So I say that it's a gift and a curse, because I feel like if I was to fully break everything off right now, that I would become prideful and forget about God and try to live my life how I want to. But since it feels like I'm going through all this, it keeps me somewhat in check. So I don't entertain certain thoughts, because I feel like I don't want people to read what I'm thinking. Um, Sometimes, I want to do the things on my own, but then I realize that I can't do it without God's help. Like, He really broke off a lot of, you know, um, a lot of things off of my life, that I can't be entertaining such thoughts, and I can't do it by myself. So He helped me with that. And it feels like, yeah, I'm going through it. Sometimes I feel like I want to give up, and I get upset because it feels like certain blessings in your life get blocked. It feels like whenever you try to explain to somebody your situation, it feels like you're the crazy one. They try to paint you out as the bad person, and you try to explain your situation, but it makes you feel like you're the crazy one. And So I just stay quiet most of the time. And I realize that worshiping the Lord, praising Him, praying to Him as much as possible really helps me out a lot. And of course, I get hit with it from day to night. You know, it's been going on for 4 years. Um, and so I'm grateful that I go through it. And I hope by the things that I go through, other people can relate in some type of shape or form. There's other stuff that I go through. I just can't remember at the moment. But I wanted to make this video because sometimes I'll catch, like, in the beginning I would catch myself watching videos like, oh, if somebody puts something on me, what are the signs and the symptoms? But they weren't really going through what experience, explaining the stuff that I was going through. So I wanted to just say what I was going through, and maybe other people can relate in some type of way. Is it witchcraft? Is it witchcraft they're hitting me with? I don't know, maybe. But I know that I'm not crazy, man, because I know that I'm not crazy about what I'm going through. Like I say, I'm happy that I go through it, and I don't wish this on my worst enemy, because sometimes it's humiliating. Sometimes it's very humiliating because you know, sometimes it feels like it's very hurtful that a lot of people join in on it too, and I don't even know that person. I didn't even do anything to that person, or it was a situation that made me act out because of that. And it feels like not a lot of people understand what I go through, and it feels like not a lot of people care, which I don't mind. I got Christ, so even though I feel like I'm alone, I'm not really alone, because He's always there. He's always there with me. He never left me. He never forsaken me. So I can tell about His goodness in life. I just wanted to get on here and to say the things that I was going through, and everything of that nature. So, bye.